What is up, Artemers? I hope you are doing so well today. If you are new here, hello and welcome. My name is Alex, and I will be your guide through philosophy, the meaning of life, and all things fun and awesome. Today we're going to be doing something a little differently, so I hope that you guys enjoy it. If you do, please drop a like or a comment so I know. That would be fantastic. But what we are going to be talking about is reading nooks, dedicating spaces to reading, and maybe a little bookshelf tour. So I hope you have fun with that. So during lots of schooling years, pretty much from age 2 to, 20 something, I have been out of school for about a year and a half now. And at first I was so excited to not be reading just incessantly. During my last few years of university, I was basically reading an entire book a week, maybe even more, with many articles and papers on top of that. But more recently, I've found that I actually want to get back into reading and really enjoy reading, and have many paper books as well as audio books that I just cannot get enough of. For instance, Jurassic Park. That book was so fantastic. Just finished it and cannot wait to watch the new movie. So I've found that I definitely need a dedicated space for reading. I've had a very terribly made reading nook for pretty much the entire time that Lauren and I have lived here, but in our most recent layout and plan, it actually blocked many of my bookshelves, and so I couldn't actually access the books. I'd have to climb over this humongous freaking chair and then find the book in darkness. It was absolutely awful. And then the chair became sort of like a catch-all. We had to do something about it. It actually took a few months to convince Lauren that we can just get rid of the chair completely. Overall, I built a failure of a reading nook. You couldn't spontaneously grab a book ever because there was a humongous chair in the way, or a bunch of little knickknacks that made it impossible to grab a book whatsoever. And then it just had to go. It just go away. Collect all of a thing. I'll insert the photo, maybe. It's very embarrassing. So I bought a new chair. Easy peasy, just fix that. It was actually Lauren and I's 5-year anniversary recently, and so I thought it would be really fun to go thrift shopping. I told him a few things that I wanted, and I know that he didn't want to just get rid of the chair that we had, and so what if we just thrifted it? Unfortunately, the Salvation Army did not take back our chair because there was a bunch of cat scratches, but that kind of just told us the truth. The chair was trash. It's a very unfortunate truth, but sometimes it was just not meant to be. It was so fantastic going into the Salvation Army, but we walked just pretty much straight to the furniture, and I saw this beautiful little chair. From a distance, it looked teeny tiny, but then I hopped into it, and then it was literally the perfect size. I am also very small. I am 4'10", if you didn't know. That's the size of me. Anyways, not to mention that when I sat into it, I looked over to Lauren and realized not only did it bounce like a rocking chair, it also spins like this kind of chair. So basically it's like a better mini version of this chair, because this one doesn't rock at all. And then the price tag said only $20.99. This is how much it costs to improve the entire quality of life in my apartment. So thank goodness for the Salvation Army. You rock. Initially, I was super nervous about clearing our chair, our catch-all chair, which was just full of so much stuff. But then I told Lauren, and magically, it was all gone. He cleared it in an absolute instant, and I could not thank him enough, honestly. I was really nervous about moving the chair, being that we're both very small people, but it turns out this huge giant chair is actually like super light. So the longest part, all in all, was rearranging the shelves. Everyone needs a good dusting, so that was the first step. But putting all of the books back in order and making it all pretty and accessible was just icing on the cake. I do still think that the walls need to be decorated a bit differently, but that's just me, and that's gonna take a whole minute, so. So I've been a remote worker since 2014, 2016, and it's basically exactly what people say all over the internet for advice, and that you have to separate like your sleeping space with your working space, with your creative space. But what I have also found is there's a whole nother space that needs to happen as well, and that is relaxation space, which is not for relaxing like your couch or your bed, but more for productive relaxing, i.e. reading. Everyone needs a reading nook. Not for being creative or productive in kicking things out, but for being one with oneself. Basically like meditating with a book or meditating with your sketchbook. Something that where you can just relax without the potential hood of falling asleep. In actuality, I have built 2 different modes to my desk for when I am working and for when I want to do my creative tasks, be it the angle with my drawers or the height of my chair. I usually do all of my creative work on my desktop or desk's top, and it's very high, whereas my keyboard is very low, to have proper right angle elbows. But this is not a very good place to read. This is basically very just production, working. And sometimes I even have to tell myself, don't just work in a work mode of production, but actually just relaxedly do art, chill and relax art, where we're not kicking it out onto social media. It is simply just for us to practice or to meditate and relax. So this definitely intertwines with the Reading Nook, because that's basically another entirely great purpose for it. Sketching, chilling, while not falling asleep like you would on a bed or a couch. I tried to find a good quote on all of this, but it's actually super hard to Google things nowadays. So I found a very fun quote from people quoting other people, so I hope you enjoy it. From Apartment Therapy: don't work in your bedroom when you work from home, according to experts. According to productivity experts, One of the simplest and most important ways you can live and work in the same space is to avoid your bedroom during work hours. Why? Your room is a place for rest. If you bring your work into that space, your brain and body might associate it with productivity, which could make it harder to sleep. On the flip side, you might be tempted to relax or even doze off in your room when you're supposed to be getting things done. And so, if I read or do art on my bed or the couch, I could very well fall asleep, or associate those activities to things that make you want to fall asleep. Ergo, I couldn't just, binge read a 3-hour book without dozing off, which would be, not the goal there. Say you want to do a bunch of sketches and simply fall asleep. You have failed your task. We need a whole space for this. We need 3 dedicated spaces in our house for production, human just passion, and sleep. Easy peasy. But between the 2 modes of being when we're awake and doing things, be it work or reading and arting relaxationally, we need to understand what productivity means and to set these goals accordingly. And so you could do this easily by doing them in the right space. Say, for instance, you need to seriously read a book and get your notes done. Do it right here. Versus if you want to do your leisurely reading and arting, do it in a reading nook. Boom, boom. But I would suggest not to get too comfortable and have a habit of sleeping in your reading nook, for all of the reasons we have already stated. But all in all, in the truest sense, we all live in mini biodomes where we need to keep homeostasis at 100%.
Homeostasis restored to 100%.
Bookshelf tour time. So, basically, when Lauren and I rearranged the shelves, this entire bookshelf was mine, and then Lauren had this whole shelf, but I asked him if we could redo that whole arrangement and sort of intertwine all of our stuff together, basically, so I could have these 2 shelves, some of that shelf, and then he could have these 2 ones, and one over there. So really, we both have the same exact amount of space. So, boom, boom, boom. What shall I start with? Maybe the decorations? So I got these essential oils as a gift. Anyways, they smell really fantastic, and the box as a whole just gives off a very beautiful and delicious smell. Not delicious, but you know what I mean. But while Lauren and I went thrift shopping, anniversary thrift shopping, I found this little Raggedy Ann doll. So we both oh my gosh. It smells like the essential oils so much already. Lauren and I really enjoy all of James Wan's movies, and I'm pretty sure he did Annabelle. We love the scary movies, and Annabelle is based off of a Raggedy Ann doll, if you didn't know that. Next little decoration is my Instax camera. So many words. Next decoration is my camera. It's pink and it's got a case on it with sparkles. I used to love taking lots and lots and lots of pictures, but I've been trying to save my money a lot recently, so I haven't taken any Instax photos in a very long time. Very sad. Next little thing is an incense box. It has no incense in it. It is empty, but it's pretty. I don't know what's in it actually. One sec. Oh, it has one incense in it. One lonely boy. And then underneath it is a teeny little book of the teachings of Buddha. So cute. It's got a little wax spot on it, to which we can climb over here. I've got some wax press things, very old school letter things. I don't know what they're called at all. But next, I have this little sushi figurine that I created this week. I made every piece by hand. I made every single piece of rice by hand, but it is aluminum foil on the inside to its core. Or else that would be honestly ridiculous. Anyways, I thought it would be fun to have a cute little soy sauce container with a little sushi on it. I know sushis don't look like this usually, but I thought it'd be fun and cute. Make my own little style. I don't know. So over here is a slinky. Can you see it? No, you can't see it. But the slinky. Ooh. This was my grandfather's slinky. It's super metal. I'm always worried it's gonna rust on me. But it's got like a bit of a crook. That's not a word. It's got a bit of like a error going on to where it's got some springs just already sprung, so it looks really cute as decoration. Down here, I know you guys can't tell what it is at all, but it's a little house that looks like my dream fockwork house as a castle. Lauren found this at a thrift shop years ago, and he thought it'd be really fun to paint someday. We haven't done it yet, so it's kind of just been chilling around. Funny enough, it was in one of our bug containers at some point, but it has been cleaned significantly since then, so don't you worry. Right next to it is a garbage pail trash can. I wish it was slightly more in the shape of a trash can. I keep thinking I should like actually make one and fill it with my Garbage Pail Kids cards, but I'd have to make like 30 of them, like frickin' Big Hero 6 style, just like full of them. Next is a candle that I bought when I was living with my sister and hung out on her like sunroom porch thing like constantly, so I got a couple candles from that era. It was a great grand old time, and we miss it. We do. Getting to the actual bookshelf part of the tour with the books and stuff, let's get into that. So first in line we have a giant moleskin that I bought when I was studying French. It is full of French, like être is to be and stuff like that. And then after I stopped taking French and it was only full like this much, I started filling it with other things like Greek words in philosophy all the time. What do they mean? Like the daemon and stuff like that. Easy peasy. If I were to think of the actual definition of that word off the top of my head, it'd be like happiness, I think. I want to look it up real quick. 1 second. It means spirit. Happiness is eudaimonia. Oh Oh my gosh, my father would be so disappointed I didn't remember the word for that. Not actually, but that would be silly. Okay, so next in line of books is Heidegger's Being and Time. I bought this book for when I was taking a class basically completely about Heidegger, which is funny because I was taking a class on Heidegger at the same time taking a class on Nietzsche, and I'd never before taken a class on one single person. So it was a great old time. I love this guy. I love his color. Cover, but I love the colors of the cover so much. So beautiful. He does work on like phenomenology and stuff. So if you're curious about like phenomena and happenings around the world, he is your guy. Next in line are Heidegger's Nietzsche, volumes 1 through 4. So basically, Being in Time was going to be like, I don't know if it was like 4 or 6 parts, but it was going to be longer than what it was. But he couldn't finish it. He found that words just didn't have enough power. Language was limiting. And after reading Nietzsche, I guess found that Nietzsche already wrote the last ending of his book.
I wrote the book.
Oh. You're a great American. This nation owes you a huge debt.
So after that, he went on to write 4 volumes on Nietzsche himself. And it's fantastic. I love it. I love Nietzsche. What a guy. Overall, moral of the story is your authentic you is very hard to define. Yeah. Dasein. Next in line are, I'm actually really excited about this one. So again, while Lauren and I were thrift shopping, anniversary thrift shopping, I came across these beautiful books. And all I saw at first was the colors from sitting in this chair. I look around at the line of books and I just see these beautiful colors. And I look closer and it's like Buddhism, Catholicism, Protestantism, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism. And I'm just like, holy cow, what a beautiful find. And then I open the cover and come to find that they're actually a full set of 1960s books on religion. So, perfect find for a philosopher comme moi. The next book is Henry David Thoreau, Walden and Other Writings. I have not read this yet, unfortunately. I have read some Thoreau in my time. I actually have no idea where I got this book, like at all. Literally no idea. But it matched the book next to it, so I thought they would be pretty together, which is the basic writings of Nietzsche. Next to it, the portable Nietzsche. As I said before, I took an entire class on Heidegger. At the same time, I took an entire class on Nietzsche. I cannot say enough. Everyone needs to read some Nietzsche in their lifetime, or realize that they already follow his philosophies. I say it all the time, but Kelly Clarkson, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, is Nietzsche. It's Nietzsche. It's Nietzsche, guys. So next to it is this beautiful copy of Thus Spoke Zarathustra that I found when I was in San Francisco, which is, I'm from Michigan, so that's a ways away from me. But it was this fantastically large thrift shop with the biggest book section that literally I'd ever seen ever, and it was huge. Humongous. The most fantastic part is that it was actually the same exact, translation as the audiobook that I was listening to. And I was just over the moon excited. Oh my gosh. So my parents currently live in my grandparents' old house, and I found this, like, just chillin', with a number of other books, but it's called The Perfection of Yoga. It being like 40 pages, I still haven't gotten around to reading it, but it always has a fun little memory to me of just like finding the literally most random books ever, just like chillin'. Next is another book I haven't read. I'm probably just gonna stop saying that because there's too many. Games Zen Masters Play. I want to say I got this in a thrift shop in like either Michigan or Chicago. I don't really remember, but I remember thinking, this is the coolest looking book. It probably has some good knowledge in it. No, dude, I think I may have gotten this in Oregon. Dude, I don't know, but I know I need to read it sometime soon though. Next, I actually have 2 copies of the Bhagavad Gita. Basically, you have to have the ability to interpret poetry. And I don't know why, but this is a struggle for me. So the next book, ironically, is something that I read when I was like 12 years old. I found this in the bookstore and I thought it was the most beautiful book, and then I read it cover to cover like twice, and it changed me as a human being. I even thought about doing a whole video on it. While I was getting ready for the video recording process today, I was actually like, what if it's on Audible? I should give her a listen. And then ended up listening to the entire book because it was only 2 hours. I gotta say, this shaped my philosophy a lot. But it is also like a mixture between The Secret and Buddhism. So it's a great beginner's book. It's a great for 12-year-olds book, and I would suggest it for anyone at any age. I shouldn't say it's a great 12-year-old's book. It's a perfect stepping stone of how to shape your brain to see suffering as not suffering. How to become beyond good and evil, if you will. So I might do a whole video on it soon. Maybe. That would be fantastic. Next is a book that a friend of mine's dad let me borrow, but then we became unfriends, and then I really wanted to give it back, but I didn't know how because it was like super awkward, and I'll never forget, even though like this was like 10 years ago, honestly. But I told the dad like all of my stuff in my brain, and he was just like, wow, you're the coolest kid in the whole world. You should borrow my book and give it a read. And of course I did, because the Tao Te Ching is so easy to read and so beautiful, and somehow those poetries are much more easy to interpret. Who knows why, but if you haven't read the Tao Te Ching, please do give it a twirl. Even just like open it to any random page on any given day and use it as a, like if you've seen Mirror Mask, it's a very useful book, right? The next 2 books are actually from my university also, by the same teacher who taught the whole Nietzsche course. He also taught Chinese philosophy course, so you'd learn about like Buddhism, as well as like 15 other things like Taoism and Confucianism, and it's fantastic. I actually learned a lot about Buddhism when I was a kid, so like that part was super easy. It was like learning how to do addition when you're 20. So thank goodness for learning how to do things before you have to, because that saves you so much brain time in the moment and in the future. So One second while I put these super heavy books back. Anyways, moving on. This lunchbox right here is a Star Wars lunchbox full of novelty stickers. If you guys know, I do like the Bujo thing, where I have loads and loads and loads of like stickers and washi tape and all of that jazz. But this one is full of things like you get out of like gumball machines, like 25-cent machines, or from like brands, or from like literally anything that's not for your journal. It's a sticker in here. Underneath it is a box, a photo box full of floss embroidery string. I have loved making friendship bracelets since I was like way young in middle school. So I still have so much string that this box like barely closes. So next on this shelf is first off the Lorax, this humongous limited edition version that my sister got for me. It says it's a earth-friendly Lorax project, printed on recycled paper. Whoop whoop. I don't know about you, but when the Lorax came out as a 3D animated movie, I watched it and bawled my freaking eyes out. Like, it makes me cry so hard. Just thinking about the environment and just like people who want to make it better and the people who like stop you from making it better. It's just so real, man. It just goes so real, so hard. So my sister knows that I love the movie and like the original 2D animated. It's one of my favorite stories ever. So she got it for me as a little birthday present. Thank you, Samantha. You're amazing and I love you. Funny enough, the next one is actually also a present, but it's only the sleeve of it. The Big Book of Baking from the Great British Bake Off from the season that I like absolutely loved. I don't remember which season or anybody's names, but the recipe book has like got their pictures and recipes and it's so fantastic. But this is just the sleeve of it to keep it protected, while the rest of it is in the kitchen. There's another book inside of it, but I don't want to undo it because it's all doing its own thing. The next book is actually really funny because it's by a guy who I had as a professor while I was going to school. At first I was like, what is this sort of like whole scheme of writing a book and then making your students buy it thing? And then it was only like $7 or less than. But honestly, it's like super full of the most amazingly amazing information. I think this guy should be super famous for being the most smartest guy ever. But you know how it goes when you're not. These books are also from school. A bunch of these honestly are. This is from phenomenology course with the Heideggers being in time. This book is the literature of ancient Egyptians. If you don't know about ancient Egyptians' philosophies, you are missing out. If you think that like Aristotle created the value ethics, you are wrong. What's really interesting about specific teachers like trying to go for the things that are uncommonly taught, some people just don't know specific things. Some people still teach that Aristotle created the value ethics when it was not. If you're ever curious like where the golden rule comes from and all of that awesome goodness, it is from ancient Egyptian literature. Egyptians also don't call themselves Egyptians. I really wish I remembered the word, but I don't. The next two books are from my very, very, very first ethics course, Intro to Ethics, from community college era. It was mind-blowing and mind-changing. If you are curious, they are by, or is it first name on here? James Rachel's The Right Thing to Do. Basic Readings and Moral Philosophy. If you want to get a head start in college or just like have better understanding of moral philosophy, these James Rachel's books are really, really fantastic in just the basics, the real basics. And then I also have a book of like example stories that you can go through. Moving on to Greek philosophy, we've got some Plato here. We've got the Symposium as well as Phaedrus. I love me some Plato, but some things are really weird to read. Phaedrus was a weird read, but sometimes you just don't see some things coming. I'm not gonna spoil it for any of you guys, but it's weird. Into more modern philosophies, we have Utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill. I kind of got this book because of its color. It's pink, and I like pink. But I am always interested in very specific quotes and all of that awesome goodness from the Utilitarianism book. Basically, it has its good sides as well as its bad sides. We have to focus on both, not just one. Next is Confessions by Augustine. And honestly, all I can remember from that book was how annoying my professor was. I don't want to say like anything bad, but he was so obnoxious. It was distracting to the reading materials, I cannot lie. Next is a super fantastic book that my advisor gave to me. I told him that I want to get into like business ethics, and he gave me this book on the power of ethical management. And it's by Kenneth Blanchard and Norman Vincent Peale, if you are curious. But it is super duper fantastic, and it's all about like being ethical while in a business setting. So if you're curious about those sorts of moralities, I would super suggest it. Another top suggest right there. Next is Jean-Paul Sartre's Being and Nothingness. I have not finished this book yet, but I would love to soon. It is a monster. It is a beast of a book. I can't lie about that one. Existentialism kind of gets me down sometimes. Also, we have to fight it in the daily practice of being meaningful, and being in nothingness kind of like tests you on that, I think. If you're into existentialism, I would not start with it. I would start with a smaller book, like, where is it? Existentialism is a humanism. Much, much smaller of a book than the monster that is Being and Nothingness. Between these two books, though, is The Ethics of Ambiguity. If you guys don't know, I have a video about a portion of a chapter of this book. That's the thing philosophers like to do. We like to focus on very small things that are very meaningful at the same time. Don't do a whole book review. Do a section of a chapter review. Next on the list here, we have The Lily of the Field and the Bird of the Air. I actually read this book in one sitting while on a plane to like Colorado, I think. Just like dropping name drops, but like that's where I get a lot of my books, is where I'm on my travels. I want to say, never read a book in one full sitting on a plane, because in my experience, you forget the entire thing. And so for me, like I was saying earlier about dedicating spaces, a plane is not a relaxing productive space, nor a production productive space. It's for sleeping. Just period. Relaxing TV or sleeping. That's it. Moving on. I have the most beautiful copy of Brave New World here that has like the NBC logo on it. I have no idea where I got this. I think it's my sister's copy and she stole it from a library maybe. So that's cool. I love it. It's mine now. Moving down the line, we have a bunch of books here like Letters and Papers from Prison, Casual Reading Book, The Time Machine, The Catcher in the Rye, The Necronomicon, Kant's Critique of Practical Reason, Young in the Alchemical Imagination, beautiful books. The Death of Ivan Lynch and Other Stories by Leo Tolstoy, a classic. And then my sister, she got me a copy of the Sideways Arithmetic from Westway School, a book of mind-boggling math puzzles. She knows I enjoy math. And she knows I enjoy reading, and the Sideways School, so that's just a fun little one there. And then I actually have my dad's copy of The Secret. Dad, if you want this back, just like tell me. But then I also bought Rhonda Byrne's Magic because I thought it would be fun, but it turns out just to be like a retelling of The Secret, which was not fun. So, wouldn't suggest it. You may notice there is a space missing here. That is because I'm currently reading Chuck Palahniuk's Haunted, to which my uncle told me to buy the book because it was super scary. Or he didn't say buy the book. He said don't buy the book. It's too scary. And let me say, it's not scary whatsoever. It's just kind of gross. So like I said in like my last video or like my last video, I wouldn't suggest it if you aren't into gross books. But if you're into meta books that happen to be gross, I would really suggest it because it's really great. Speaking of Chuck Palahniuk though, right here we have 2 and 3 of Fight Club. They are graphic novels and they're beautiful. The art in them is gorgeous. Cameron Stewart's art, oh my gosh. Right here we have Fight Club, the first one, if you don't include like the short story version or the movie adaptation. The first largest novelization. So next is Rant by Chuck Palahniuk. And then I think I have Palahniuk's diary in my bedroom too, because I found it at my sister's house while I was sleeping over. And I was like, how did you get this? And she's like, I have no idea. A Clockwork Orange, I haven't watched or read yet. I actually tried to read this, and in the first few pages I was just like, this is harder to read than like Kant. What is even going on? This is harder to read than where is the copy of it? Anyways, American Psycho is really, really hard to read, but A Clockwork Orange I think has it beat somehow. But now I'm all distracted because American Psycho is just like missing. I haven't seen it since I was in like high school. These 2 books are by Dan Wells. This is I'm Not a Serial Killer and its sequel, Mr. Monster. I never actually finished this first book. I think I got super duper busy, but it was really good. It's about like this classic, like I think it was made for a teens book where it's a teenager whose mom works in a morgue, and then the teenager is like, I want to help you, and then I think he like tries to solve a murder. So that's really cool, and I'd love to read it again soon, but like the to-read list is so long, so long. This one here is Buddha's Brain, a practical neuroscience of happiness, love, and wisdom. Pretty much every person I've ever seen with their bookshelf on YouTube has this book somehow. But I've owned it for, since before high school or mid-high school. But it's basically about science and Buddhism. And who does not love science and Buddhism? They're fantastic. Just best friends together. So I've got a couple of really weird books going on. This one's not weird, actually. The Stranger in the Woods. It's like sort of based on a true story. I don't know if it's completely based on a true story. But my sister gave me a book of the month mini subscription, like 3 months Christmas subscription. So that was one of the ones that I picked. The other ones are, I think, down here or down there. And then I've got the H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu Mythos Tale. Lauren and I bought this together. It's like the plushy leather thing that Barnes & Noble makes. I don't know. A Bad Character I got when I was working at a bookstore. So it's like an uncorrected proof. Or we have The Inside of the Criminal Mind, or Confessions of a Sociopath. Those are more of the weirder books that I have. I think everyone was kind of weird in their younger days, thinking about criminals, watching Law and Order SVU. You know how we do. You were one of them. Don't judge me. Lastly, though, we have Malcolm Gladwell's Blank. This is a really classic book. This is actually like also one of my father's books that I should give back at some point, but it's about thinking better and the power of thinking without thinking. Instincts, basically. I'm trying to think if there's any more good ones to talk about. My sister gave me this one a few birthdays back, as well as a deck of tarot cards. She gave me a book on reading tarot cards, so that was a super fun one, as well as a book on like growing bonsai trees and painting. Just like hobby books down there, basically. So that's the end of it. That's the whole bookshelf, and I'm like out of breath now, about to pass out. I don't even know what time it is. Might be midnight. So I hope you liked this video. Again, if you enjoyed this more super laid back, more like vloggy content, please let me know. It is somewhat easier for me, but at the same time, I really enjoy talking about the heavy duty stuff. So I'm about to finish the book Metamorphosis and a few other ones. I like to read like 5 books at the same time, so we can always talk about those too. Just let me know. Yeah, maybe we could do a whole Jurassic Park thing, and that would be a fantastic talk about cloning and biotechnology. Maybe redo the one that I made so long ago for school. I wouldn't suggest watching it. It's really, really bad. But good memories, right? Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much for spending a moment here with me. I really do super appreciate you guys taking the time, especially when you get all the way over here to the end. Am I shivering? I just drank a bunch of water. I'm so cold all of a sudden. Yeah. Have a great rest of your day. I love you guys. Bye. An hour and 40 minutes? That might be my longest recording to date. Wish me luck on editing this.
For one of these days.